Welcome to your 30-day accelerated Instagram growth plan. So I'm just gonna be honest. I'm gonna let you know that I know who you are. And before you start thinking like, who is this girl? She don't know me. I actually have a very good guess. I am going to say that you are a self-identified hustler, dreamer, visionary, creator. I got you. I got your number. Now, here's the thing. We have all started in that position, and some of us, if not all of us, are transitioning to a place of higher identity and calling in our lives. And that could be perhaps as an entrepreneur, perhaps as an influencer. Maybe you're an industry authority or very well on your way. And maybe you're here because you say, Jasmine, I don't have something to sell, but I really have a message to share. And I believe Instagram is going to be the catalyst to get me to where I want to go. Friends, I told you, I know who you are. Now, all of these things, creators, visionaries, influencers, industry authorities, we all believe we can use Instagram to help us get to where we want to go. But I get it. The struggle is real. And you might be here being like, I am one of those things, I am all of those things, or hey, Jasmine, I just aspire to be all of those titles and things. Because I understand the struggle on Instagram, and I am not here to tell you anything other or something different. We struggle with saying we're not growing fast enough. Perhaps some of us struggle with being like, Jasmine, I am not getting the engagement that I want. Or perhaps that I deserve. I'm putting out great content, and yet nobody's talking back to me. I also know the struggle of that dreaded follow and unfollow tactic, right? So it's like, if you wonder, how did I gain 4 followers yesterday and how did I lose 5 followers today? That, my friends, is a tactic that gets so old and causes us to be frustrated or feel like we're walking the Instagram path alone. Or perhaps, like many people have told me, Jasmine, it feels like nobody's paying attention. I have been put on this earth to do something big and wild and amazing, but it's really hard to get seen or noticed on Instagram. That struggle can sometimes feel isolating, and I am here to tell you, I know exactly how you feel. For years, I struggled with every single one of these pressure points, but then one day, something happened. I decided to change everything when I made the decision to have a plan and strategy on Instagram. It was no longer enough for me just to be on Instagram. I actually had to use Instagram. But here's one thing that's a little difficult. You are feeling frustrated using Instagram without a plan and a strategy, but today, my friends, that is going to change. Because why? I'm gonna be walking you through how to have an accelerated Instagram growth plan in just 30 days. Friends, you commit a month to yourself and you will see the changes that you want to get. Because I'm a straight shooter and I tell you exactly how it is. So here it is. If you're taking notes, bring out a fresh piece of paper, bring out that pen, because I am going to tell you, you don't need secrets. You need a strategy. And you don't need to posture on Instagram. You need a plan. So it is at that point that we are going to begin, because I'm going to give you my exact blueprint and we're going to get started today so that when you finish this session, you're like, I got this. I'm ready to test. I'm ready to show up every day for 30 days and I'm going to see if this Jasmine girl and this later organization really has my back. So as you're sitting here and you're thinking, I'm not sure how valid this Jasmine girl is, I have to tell you what you're looking at right about now is an exact look at my Instagram account in 2014. That was just when I was on Instagram. I wasn't using Instagram. By the time 2014 kind of rolled around, I got sick and tired of being sick and tired of seeing other people use Instagram to grow their business, to get sales, to get more influence, to become an industry authority, and I thought, what am I doing wrong? Well, before I get to what I was doing wrong to figure out what I'm doing right, you might be wondering who I am. My name is Jasmine Starr, and I am a photographer and business strategist from Newport Beach, California. And myself and my husband are the co-founders of Social Curator, a monthly social media membership that empowers entrepreneurs to show up on social media every single day to build their brands. So, in order for you to understand why I'm such an ardent evangelist of Instagram and social media, the story starts for me in 2005. Now, in 2005, I was tired, and I was stressed, and I was wildly overwhelmed. I was sitting at UCLA Law School on a full ride scholarship. Now, I should probably let you know a little bit of the backstory. My dad is an immigrant. I am a first generation Latina. I'm a first generation college student. I'm a first generation student to be in upper education. I felt like I got Willy Wonka's golden ticket. How silly of me to look around and think, why am I here and what am I doing? But I looked around, everybody else at UCLA Law School, and everybody was tired, stressed, and overwhelmed. So I was like, I guess this is life. Like, this is where I have to be. It wasn't until I got a call from my dad, second semester of my first year of law school. And he said, Jasmine, the doctor said your mom's time had come. It was time for us to plan her funeral. My mom had battled brain cancer for 8 years. And when she had this relapse, the doctors had said, we have tried everything. We've done every form of chemotherapy. We've done every form of radiation. Your time has come. And so in addition to being tired, stressed, and overwhelmed, I fell into a really dark depression because my mom was my best friend and I couldn't picture my life without her. So on a whim, I woke up and fully intending to go to law school. I walked onto the campus and instead of going to class, I walked into the dean's office and I said, I need a break. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna be with my mom. And it was at that time that I realized the most life-changing lesson. Life is short. My mom was 50 years old and I was 25, and I thought to myself, if I have 25 years left of my life, do I want to die a lawyer? And the answer was no. But when I look back at that situation, I want to go back and I want to shake myself silly because I wasn't guaranteed 25 years. I wasn't guaranteed 25 minutes. None of us are. I decided that I didn't want to look at my life if I was 50 years old and reconcile me not doing the thing that I wanted to do. What was I going to do with my one wild and crazy, beautiful, precious life? I was going to answer the question that my husband asked me. Now, I skipped over that part because it's a big, pretty significant chunk. I quit law school and my high school boyfriend and I had been dating 9 years at this time, and I said, I really want my mom to see us get married. We planned a wedding in about 3 months, and on the sandy shore of a Hawaiian beach, my husband and I, my boyfriend, fiance, husband, got married, and the doctor said, your mom won't be able to walk. And the doctor said, your mom won't be able to talk. And the doctor said, your mom won't be able to travel. And she did all of those things. Everything I know about showing up for life and being a fighter and being undaunted by circumstances I learned from her. So we get married. It is the happiest day of my life. We come back home and I get a letter from UCLA and they say, it's time for you to go back to school, get those scholarships. And the only thing I thought to myself is, I am miserable there. So my husband, my poor, sweet, brand new husband of 3 weeks, looks across the dinner table and he asked me the most profound question that anybody could ask me. If you can do one thing for the rest of your life and be happy, what would it be? I said, I want to be a photographer. And he's like, okay, you don't own a camera? I was like, I know, but if I had a camera, I'm like, I really think I can make a thing of this. Now, other people would hear that and be like, oh, girl, like, tap me on the back of my head and be like, bless your heart, go back to law school, that's where your life is. But instead, this brand new husband, beautiful soul, co-visionary and dreamer said, I believe in you. On January 1st, 2006, I opened my very first digital camera. And I gave myself 1 year to see if I can actually do this thing, this crazy idea. Could I give myself 12 months to say, will I and can I pursue the life that I want? 2006, I had no idea what I was doing. I wasn't bad, I was like really, really bad. But what was my decision? My decision was to go to law school where I was sad and miserable, or give myself 12 months to do everything I needed to do to teach myself how to be a better photographer. And lo and behold, I went to the University of Google. I learned everything I possibly could. I brought out my user manual. I studied it day and night. I had a part-time job, and anytime I had any available moment, I was me and my camera, and we would walk the streets and we would shoot. Could you believe that by 2009, I was voted one of the top photographers in the world? And by 2010, I was voted one of the most influential photographers. And by 2012, I was voted one of the top 10 most socially influential photographers. Now, people hear this story and they're like, what? Like, how in the matter of 3 years did you not have a camera? You didn't know what you were doing. Nobody in their right mind would pay you any money to shoot them, and all of a sudden you've transitioned your business. This is the part of the story I love talking about, because the thing I learned was I didn't have money, I didn't have education, I didn't have connections, I didn't have somebody that can call up and be like, hey, have you ever started a business before? I am from a blue-collar neighborhood. That didn't exist. But one thing that I realized that I could do is I could start leveraging free resources online to build a brand and market my business. It's around this time, like 2014, let's give a little bit of a flashback of what my Instagram account looked like. And let me just tell you, by the time 2014 rolled around, I was already an internationally recognized award-winning photographer. And if you looked at my Instagram account, all you think you would see about me or know about me is that I like to hang out with friends, I like to drink wine, I like my dog. There is no representation at all of what my brand is, my vision, or even really who I am. It was in 2016 that I decided to put a stake in the ground and say, I'm tired of just being on Instagram and not using Instagram. So can I build a plan and a strategy to get me to where I want to go? And friends, that is what I'm going to be sharing with you today. Because it was around this time that I started testing these theories and building out these systems. And people, photographers, small business owners, medium-sized business owners were like, hey, can you teach us what you're doing? Do you think that would work for us? And I'm like, yes, we're gonna try. And lo and behold, I put in enough work that around this time, I was interviewed by USA Today on a national television segment about Instagram. I became a huge proponent of the algorithm when everybody else was saying, this is crazy. Why are we doing this? This is insane. And I was like, the algorithm can work in our favor if we know what we're doing, which later opened the doors for me to be featured on Forbes and MSNBC. And I only say this stuff not because I think I'm cute or I'm popular or I'm an influencer. It's no. I know how to show up and I know how to teach people how to take what they have and make it into more. So, as I started understanding what was changing for me in 2016, I asked myself one question. What makes people who use Instagram successful? Now, before you think I was just like pontificating, it was legitimately, I sat down with an Excel spreadsheet and I listed all of my favorite Instagrammers and I started keeping track of how often they post, what were they posting, the types of posts, their levels of engagement, how quickly they were responding. I totally geeked out. Remember, I'm a proud law school dropout. I gave myself homework on how to study the Instagram algorithm and the platform because I want to know who is successful and what makes them successful. And you want to know what I learned month after month after month of studying them? The most successful Instagrammers show up. That's it. They show up. They have a plan. They have a purpose. They're there consistently. This just goes to show that the algorithm and Instagram favors those who are undaunted, favors those who say, I am okay not being okay. I am here to share a message. And whoever is here to learn, to develop, to buy, to invest, to get to know, to hang out, to co-sign on this message, this is going to be the platform for me. They post regularly, they post consistently, and they post with a purpose. That is why they were there, and they knew specifically why they were there. Because what I started understanding at that time is that they, as a result of posting consistently with a plan and with a purpose, were developing people to engage. And when people engage, you get momentum in the algorithm. So it was as if success led to more success simply by showing up, having a purpose, knowing who they were speaking to, and again saying, listen, I am here to show up and serve a small group of people. And when this small group of people engages with my account, it shows it to more people. And when more people see my account, they engage and I get more followers. Y'all, I could basically, if I was holding a mic, I would drop the mic because there's no secret to Instagram other than showing up consistently, speaking to your people and serving them well. So then once I noticed all of this stuff, I began to wonder, what is the fastest way to create Instagram consistency? If I knew that consistency is queen and serving a small group of people who will engage in my account so it can shoot to more people, what's the quickest way for me to become consistent? Well, I discovered that whenever I felt really frustrated, I don't have something to post, I really don't have anything to say, I said, how can I beat these two common factors that frustrate me? Not having anything to post and not having anything to say. Well, I created these things called Instagram categories. So what are categories? Well, categories are the types of photos that you can share on behalf of your business or on behalf of your account or on behalf of your message. These are photos that you can share without having to sell people on the thing that you're trying to get them to do, to say, or to read. Now, categories empower you to talk about your business, your message, your ideology without having to sell them or force them into something they don't really care about. So, let's break this down into a few examples. I am the founder of Social Curator, and we have a lot of just people who are using Instagram to really grow their lives and their businesses. And one of my favorite people in the group is a motivational speaker. Now, she said, Jasmine, one of my categories is shoes. And I was like, okay. You're a motivational speaker. What does shoes have to do with the thing that you're selling? Well, she says, whenever I'm about to step on a very large stage, I will buy myself a very fabulous pair of shoes. So we're talking about Louboutins, Jimmy Choos, and she created these categories in that she's taking a picture of these shoes, and on Instagram she'll write a caption. Tomorrow, as I step on blank stage, I am going to be talking about, and I am whatever she's gonna talk about, and I'm gonna be feeling fabulous wearing these red-soled Louboutins. She did it again and again and again. She was able to talk about shoes in relations to her business. Does she sell shoes? No. Does she make shoes? No. Is she a purveyor of shoes? No. But the shoes empowered her to talk about a message, to talk about what she does professionally without having to sell the fact that she's a motivational speaker. So I also know very well a photographer in the group, and she posts pictures of her kids. Now, one of her categories are her children, and she says, by me posting photos of my children as they grow up, I don't have to sell this idea that I'm a photographer. I get to show my followers that I'm a photographer without having to say, hey, book me. I am showing, I don't have to tell. That is the power of Instagram. So if you're sitting here and you're like, okay, Jasmine, I kind of get this. Well, Jasmine, what are some of your categories? Let's break down a couple of my categories to get the wheels going so you are empowered to list your categories so you, number one, never run out of something to post. Number two, never run out of something to say. One of my categories is my husband and my business partner. Now, I talk about him often on Instagram, not because I think he's like cute or funny or brilliant or witty. Like, I personally think he's all of those things, but I'm biased. But I'll be real with you, you don't really care. He's my husband. I get it. But here's the thing, every time I talk about my husband, I don't talk about how we met when we were 17 or the fact that he really makes amazing tacos. I am talking about him in relation to my business, as a business partner, the business we build, and the people we serve. I can talk about my business without having to sell my business by way of my husband. So now when people get a response from him via DM, or that he responds via email, or he responds to a support ticket, he responds to a contract negotiation, people now know he's a part of my business as a result of me talking about him publicly on Instagram. Another one of my categories are quotes. Quotes do really well because I've read a lot about Instagram, and one of the things that scientists have discovered is that people engage with content that self-identifies who they are. So I started testing this idea. If I want people to self-identify, to be, one, attracted to my account and ultimately attracted to my business, what type of quotes would I have to put out to attract the kind of people that I want? Let's take a look at one of these quotes. Everything you want is waiting for you on the other side of consistency. Y'all, are we not talking about consistency? I am putting out the type of quotes for people I ultimately want to attract. Last category, I post the books that I read. Now you might be wondering, Jasmine, you don't sell books and you don't write books and you are not a book publisher, and you're right. But why is books one of my categories? I want to put out ultimately what I want to attract. I want to attract business owners who care about education, who care about self-betterment, who care about self-empowerment, who care about self-education. Y'all, the question now comes to you. What are you putting out on Instagram that's going to attract your dream follower? So now that we're kind of got the wheels going in regard to the categories, I want you to pick 9 to 12 categories. Now, these categories can be anything you want. I want to pause because are you wondering why I specifically chose 9 to 12 categories? Well, if you go to Instagram, what do you see? The first 9 photos. Scroll a little bit, you see the first 12 photos. What I want you to do is every 9 to 12 photos, if you decide to go to my Instagram account, you could see every 9 to 12 photos, I have a picture of my husband. Every 9 to 12 photos, I have a picture of the books I'm reading. Every 9 to 12 photos, you will find a quote. Every 9 to 12 categories, you will find one of my 9 to 12 categories. This empowers me to not feel like my grid is all over the place. It empowers my followers to know what to specifically expect, and it keeps my grid continuous. All the things that we really want. Now you might be sitting here and you're like, Jasmine, I like this idea. I'm not really sure how I'm feeling about it. If you feel stuck about finding your categories, I'm going to invite you to ask yourself one question. The question becomes, what am I selling? Now, when you ask yourself, what are you selling? I really want you to be literal and I want you to be emotional. So let's just say I sell running shoes. What am I literally selling? Shoes, athletic apparel. But from an emotional perspective, what am I selling? Lifestyle, aspiration, an image, health? If I was a wedding cake baker, what am I literally selling? Wedding cakes. What am I emotionally selling? Memories, celebration, a family heirloom? When you have the ability to show up on Instagram and talk about your message, your business, your product, your service from a literal perspective and emotional perspective, that becomes a total game changer. So let's get into a little bit of an example. When we talk about this from an example of a baker, let's say I'm a baker and what I'm selling is brownies or cupcakes. Let's just use brownies as an example. I am literally selling brownies, and the things that I get to be talking about on Instagram would be brownies, like my grandmother's recipe, me showing up to the bakery at 4 a.m. in the morning to get my work done, how I decorate my brownies for Halloween. Those are all literal things that I'm gonna be talking about on Instagram. So now let's take this into a perspective of me selling an emotion as a baker. I'm going to choose the emotion of joy. So let's talk about how this works a little bit. So imagine little Johnny walks into my bakery and there he is with his mom, and he comes up to the counter and he starts pointing to the brownie of his choice. So I bring out a piece of wax paper and I put the brownie and I hand it over to Johnny, and he waddles on over to a table and I ask his mom, can I take a picture of him? To which she replies, yes. So I come up from behind the counter, I bring out my iPhone and I take a picture of Johnny just as he's about to put this big brownie in his mouth. There, my phone, I bring up Instagram, I post a picture, and maybe something that I write would be like, nothing makes waking up at 4 a.m. better than watching somebody enjoy the brownies. I understand they're not eating a sweet confection of sugar. They're actually tasting a piece of joy. What I just did is I didn't say, come buy my brownie. I didn't say the brownies are in sale. I didn't say the brownies are get one, you buy one, get one for free. I said, I'm selling joy. Now, here's the beauty about this, is I can talk about what I'm selling from an emotional perspective and a literal perspective without having to sell. So on the inside of Social Curator, I ask some of the members to be really aware of what we are putting out on Instagram. So here's an example from KJ Blattenbauer. She writes, as a PR pro, I help entrepreneurs receive the recognition their brands and dreams deserve. I am selling confidence, connections, and an easy to follow path to becoming a household name. What does KJ sell from a literal perspective? PR. What does she sell from an emotional perspective? Confidence, connections, and an easy to follow path to becoming a household name. Friends, there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in America and around the world who do public relations. If KJ wanted to compete on public relations alone, she might not stick out, but she knows she's not selling public relations. She knows she's selling confidence. And friends, when you could talk about confidence and when you can talk about a clear plan to becoming a household name, oh, you become that much more competitive and you stick out on Instagram. Let's give one more example from Galicia. She writes, I'm a high school senior photographer and I sell more confidence, I sell self-worth, and I sell empowerment to become a better version of who you already are. There are thousands of senior photographers in Arizona where Galicia is, and she doesn't think it's in any competition to have her account be seen on Instagram. Why? Because she knows she's not selling senior photography. What is she selling? Self-worth, She sells empowerment. And that's why she has over 200 girls on a waiting list to be part of her marketing team on Instagram. Y'all, she's not selling senior photography, she's selling something from an emotional perspective. So that then becomes my question to you. What are you selling literally, and what are you selling emotionally? And when I use the word sell, like you might be sitting here and be like, but Jasmine, I don't have a business. Listen, all of us on Instagram are selling something. As an influencer, you have an affiliate link that you want people to use. As a public speaker, you're selling the idea of you being the professional. As a thought leader, as an author, what are you selling? This idea that you want people to co-sign and get behind the things that you're doing. So, I don't have a lot of time to get into a step-by-step tutorial on how to create categories. I did the best I could given this short amount of time, but if you want to take an extra 6 minutes to walk a video tutorial on how you can create your own categories, you can visit jasminestar.com/categories. Because the thing that I'm gonna really lean in hard is the minute you know what you sell, you can then create posts with intention and with purpose consistently. Remember, that is where we started the conversation. We started this conversation by understanding what makes people who use Instagram successful. Do you remember what it was? They show up. They have posts with plans, a strategy, purpose, intentionality. They know who they're talking to. They know why they're there. They're using categories to reiterate the same thing, to build trust, to get engagement, to respond to comments, to respond to DMs, simply because they know their why. When you know why you're on Instagram and you know what you're trying to sell from a literal and emotional perspective, it empowers you to show up on Instagram every single day. Now, here's the thing that we have come to know is consistency gets you more followers, influence, and growth. Later was built on the belief that consistency is king. They have developed an app to give you no reason not to be showing up on Instagram every single day, regardless of how busy you are. Social Curator was created to provide Instagram resources for you to become consistent. Between these two amazing opportunities, you have no excuse not to show up. Now remember, I started this class with a very big promise. You're gonna see results in 30 days. And you might be saying, Jasmine, I've tried everything before. And listen, I am not gonna have you fight for your limitations. I'm just gonna say, will you give yourself the permission to apply consistency and categories for the next 30 days to see how much you grow? If you have any questions, I am here to help you along your journey. You can find me at Jasmine Star on Instagram and at my website, jasminestar.com. I am dedicated to providing value and be of service as you show up on Instagram every single day. I'll chat soon.